Hello friends. I am actually re-recording this video, but this is going to be the ins and outs of the first 3 quarters of the year. So everything that came into my house from January to September. So I had initially recorded these videos throughout the year and was finally getting around to actually sitting down to edit them and just thought it could be better. So here we are. And so Damien helped me pull all of my books back out because I'd put them on different shelves and redistributed them around the house and everything. And so we spent some time a couple days ago, like pulling them, like organizing them, counting, coming up with some stats and information that I'll tell you in just a second. It was really interesting kind of pulling all of them back out just to take a look at how many beautiful books have come into my house. And it's been like a nice little like reflection towards the end of the year because of course it is December. And also I have 2 busybodies over here, 2 little nosies. So I am going to get started with some stats. I have like this really fancy little notepad that is going to help me tell you some things about the books from the first 9 months of the year. So the total number of books that have come in from January to September is 132 books. 26 of those were subscription books, so they came either from Illumicrate. I have the Fairy Loot Adult and the Fairy Loot YA, and I also have Broken Binding. So they came from one of those 4. I had 11 sequels for subscription books, and then 33 books that were like essentially special editions. So either something from a subscription box that was not part of their original subscription or a related sequel, or something that was like a special edition like series that they put out, or something like that. Obviously I'll talk about these as I go through them. I got 10 from friends and family because my birthday was in May, so I got 10 books. Oh well, I got 9 books in May and then I think 1 in September. And then I got 8 books from Pango, and I used Pango Books for all of them, so I didn't pay any money out of pocket. It was all from like the money that I had earned from selling books. And then just from going out and about to places like Barnes & Noble, there's a Kinokuniya close to me. And then the used bookstore that we go to that is like on the way to Kinokuniya was 31 books. And then I have an other category that's like special circumstances or like an event, like related to an event. And there were 14 books in that category. To break it down by month, January was by far my highest. So one of the other circumstances was that we picked up a bunch of Nancy Drew books and Hardy Boys books from an estate sale. I kept 13 of them, but that's what made January the highest. And then in February, I was a lot better and had 9 books come in, one of which I actually just recently sold on Pango. In March, I was also good and had 7 books come in. April was 19. I think I had a lot of pre-orders come in, but then that's when I went a little wild on Pango, and so there's a substantial amount that came from Pango. And then in May, that was my birthday month, so some of them were gifted to me. And then again, had several pre-orders come in. June was really good. I only had 5 books come in. July was not great again, and I had 19 books come in. And then in August, I had 17 books, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And then in September, I was good again and had 9, because one of the goals for this year was to keep the incoming books below 10. I was successful 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 9 months. I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you all of these books, and then we can talk through them. I am going to be a little bit rapid fire about this. Oh, and then at the end, I will tell you how many books I have read of these, and I need to redo the outs for the year because I just want to make sure that I am getting all of them. I wasn't super great about recording the books that we just sent to the used bookstore, so I need to just double check that I have everything that left, and can just, pop up a picture to show you if I need to. Maybe I'll just do the unhaul since this is going to be longer, maybe I'll just do the unhaul at the very end of the year and include that in the fourth quarter ins and outs video. Anyway, let's talk about some books. What are you doing? Do you want a spot? Here. There you go. That's a good spot for my noodle. Yeah. Like a nice little nest. Yeah. Good boy. These are all the books that have come in January. First, we have To Green Angel Tower Part 2. This was part of the Broken Binding subscription. And I did actually end up DNFing the series after, in the middle of book 2. But they do ask that if you are going to skip anything, you skip the full series. And Damien read this growing up, so I knew I was going to keep it anyway. So, technically it's here, but it's not on my TBR and not on my shelves. And then we have, I think this is the Fairy Loot Adult. This is Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan. Gorgeous edition. Probably one of my favorite editions of the year. Then we have Water Moon from Illumicrate. I only had 3 subscription books come in January. The next group I will talk about are sequels. The first would be A Monsoon Rising, sequel to The Hurricane Wars. Next is Exiled by Iron, sequel to Forged by Blood. And then the Blood Orchid, sequel to The Scarlet Alchemist. These are all Fairy Loot, and I have gotten a lot better this year about making sure I read the first book in a series before I pre-order the sequel, because that was a problem. Some special editions that were not related to the subscription or sequels or whatever is The House at Watch Hill by Karen Marie Moning. I loved her books growing up and was really excited to see this. I do think it's going to be kind of different, but I'm really excited to get to it. And then next is A Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the spin-off series from Kingdom of the Wicked. And I got both of these from Fairy Loot. I got The Soul's Aspect from Page and Wick, and I think it says, yes, winner of the Fantasy Fellowship Indie Spotlight Book of the Year in 2023. And I read the description and also saw the cover and was like, yeah, I'm sold. I've started it, but not finished it. And then some books that we have gotten out and about are Spy Family Volume 13, Sakamoto Days 15, Marriage Toxin Volume 5. I think this was a pre-order, technically. And then Apothecary Diaries Volumes 7, 8, and 9. Witch Hat Atelier Volume 13. I have not read this. It's still in the plastic. And I just don't know that I'm ready. Part of why it has been lingering is because I don't even know if another volume is coming out this year. So the art is stunning. They need to take as long as they take, but they do take a very long time in between volume releases. So I'm almost to the point where I think I just want to wait until it's complete and pick them all up at the same time. From the estate sale, I picked up 13 books. I do collect Nancy Drews. I read them when I was a kid, and then I also got a lot that were my mom's. And then a few years ago, on TikTok, I saw a video talking about the differences between the original printing of some of the volumes. I think it's the first like 13 or 20 or something. I'm not entirely sure. I'll put the correct number up here. And the subsequent printings after they made some adjustments to them in, I want to say, like the late 50s, so like 1959, 1960, somewhere in there. The easiest way to tell is that the original printing, it has 25 chapters, and then the reprints have 20 chapters. So they cut out some stuff to make Nancy a little less independent, I guess, and a little more traditional. I have a couple volumes that I have both versions of, so I really want to do like a side-by-side read-through comparison and see what all they cut out and how it affects the story. I didn't keep all of them because some of them were duplicates, but I did end up keeping 13. So 11 of them were Nancy Drew books, and then there was one Hardy Boys book, which I am going to get rid of because it was terrible. I hated it. So of the 13 that I kept, one of them was a Hardy Boys novel, and this is like acid green, and it was not written for me, which is fine, but it will be leaving my house. And then I picked up The Ghost in the Gallery. This is actually a Dana Girls mystery, which I had never read before. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I will hold on to it because it's by the same author as Nancy Drew. And I will just see what it is and see how I like it and how it compares to Nancy Drew. And I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I don't know that it's inspired me to go out and buy more, but I think if I saw more readily available, like at another estate sale, or there's a vintage bookshop in Atlanta that usually has copies of Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys and Dana Girls and other related books. And yeah, so if there were some there, I might consider it. But I'm not going to pull out all 11 of the Nancy Drew books because they're all in a cabinet and I don't remember which ones came in. I could watch the video and make notes, but I figured these two would be enough of a placeholder to appease people. And yeah, if anyone would like more info on the differences between Nancy Drew and like the first printing and subsequent printings, then let me know. All right, starting off the same way for February, I had The Mask of Mirrors come in. This is the Broken Binding subscription, and this series ended up being one of my top reads of the year. Like, it was so good. It had pretty much everything that I love in a book, and it was done so well. And like, you could just tell that the authors spent so much time building this world and creating all of the specific details. It was like craft at its finest. So fully recommend to anyone who has read it. And then I also got Cruel as the Light from Fairy Loot. I think this was the YA. I do know that I skipped Illumicrate in February onto some special editions. I have the Omnibus of Red Winter. This was a Kickstarter that I backed, I think even at the end of like 2023. There were some printing issues and, subsequent delays. I have not read any of this author's work, so I'm really hopeful that I like this. But it sounds like it's something that's like right up my alley. So I don't have very many doubts about that. And then Illumicrate did a special edition TJ Klune set. So we have Somewhere Beyond the Sea and In the Lives of Puffets. Somewhere Beyond the Sea was the sequel to House in the Cerulean Sea. And House in the Cerulean Sea was one of my favorite reads, I think 2-3 years ago. Three that I got while out and about were Kingdom of Claw. I actually had a really, the only reason I got this is because I had a really annoying incident at work. And I was like, I'm going to go make myself feel better by buying a book today. And it was the same day that this came out. So I was like, it's fate. And then I picked up volume 2 of Mages of the Library. And then they had like since you could get this book for half off because you bought a paperback or something, and got Gate to Kagoshima. Oh, and then in February I had a novel love story come in, but I have actually just sold it on Pango, and I will just pop up a picture here. I didn't love it since I sold it. And then in March I had subscription books or sequels come in. So first we had The Rose Bargain. This is from Fairy Loot. The Scorpion and the Night Blossom, also from Fairy Loot. And then The Liar's Knot, which was the sequel to Mask of Mirrors from Broken Binding. And then for sequels, I got Where the Library Hides, sequel to What the River Knows. I got Cursebound, sequel to Feybound. Faithbreaker, third book in the Godkiller trilogy. And Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, sequel to, or third book in the Emily Wilde series. April was a delightful month. I have The Raven Scholar, and then the Prince Without Sorrow. I think this was the Illumicrate March pick, if I'm remembering correctly. Probably not, but that's all right. And then the Raven Scholar, I think, was the April pick from Illumicrate. I also have Labyrinth's Heart, which is the final book in the trilogy for the Brook and Rose trilogy, so Mask of Mirrors and Liar's Knot. And then I think this is the YA book from Fairy Loot. I think I skipped the adult one. This is For She Is Wrath by Shalini Beskara. For sequels, I got Tideborn, sequel to, oh my gosh, Bean, sequel to Fathom Folk. And then getting into some special editions, I got Kiki's Delivery Service, and I got Under Lock and Key from Fairy Loot, and then saw the Illumicrate edition, or I guess technically Afterlight, and they actually have printed end papers and super cute sprayed edges. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna order that, and if I love it, or if I don't love it, I will get rid of one or both, and if I only like it a little bit, I will probably get rid of one of them. My favorite special edition that came in April is the Alana series, so Song of the Lioness. This is from Illumicrate. It's part of their 10 years of Illumicrate editions that they did, and these books are stunning. First, you have these incredible covers, and just the sheer amount of detail that goes into them. And then no reverse dust jacket, that's fine. But the hard case, the hard case is incredible. And then the end papers are same front to back. The second one is In the Hands of the Goddess. Look at these colors. Whoever, this is one of my favorite artists and art pieces of the year. Just insane. And then this is the naked, and then then the third book honestly might be one of my favorites. I don't know. It's so hard to pick because they're all so beautiful. Like, they're so well done. But this is The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. And like, you just get, it's just so good. Oh my God. And then this is the hard case of that book. And then the end papers. And then the final book is Lioness Rampant. This is the hard case and the end papers. So happy to have those on my shelf. I would love so much if they did the rest of the Turtle books, so Dane's books and then Kel's books. But I do have some final Pango editions to talk about from April, and then we'll move on. Let me preface this by saying I have multiple editions of Lord of the Rings already, and Lord of the Rings is one of Damien and I's favorite series, favorite worlds of all time. So I recently discovered that there are, well, semi-recently, last like year or so, and like the concept was there in the back of my mind, but not something that I was like had in the forefront of my mind, I guess. But there are different covers of Lord of the Rings and not just the ones that I grew up with. And we found some at the used bookstore and we're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, oh, I wonder, I was browsing Pango one day and like Tolkien came up, or Fellowship or something came up, and I was like, oh, I wonder, like, let me just click on that. And it was just this whole slew of different covers, and I was like, oh my God, yes. So I bought several. So we have The Two Towers and Return of the King. I don't have Fellowship in this set of covers, but we'll find it somewhere. I think this was like a 1960s. Yeah, I think this was a 1960s cover. And then I have Unfinished Tales, The Two Towers, and Fellowship of the Ring. I think this was a 1980s cover. We already had Return of the King in these copies. And then I have, these are from the 1970s, and this is Return of the King and The Two Towers. And those are all the books that came in April. I have 2 stacks to talk about for May, so I'm just going to jump right in. And continuing in the same vein, we have The Fellowship of the Ring in the same 1970s editions from Pango. So Damien took me book shopping for my birthday, and I got a few birthday books. The first one is Behooved, which I think actually came out on my birthday. And then For Whom the Bell Tolls by J.C. Lynn. She does the Hell's Bells series on TikTok and wrote a book about it. Well, like, for the series, like, of her characters. A Man and His Cat, volume 13. Sakamoto Days, volume 16. And then Someone You Can Build a Nest In, which was their monthly pick. And I think since it was my birthday month, I got it for free. And then some continuing in the gifts, my mom got me 3 of the hardback volumes of Heaven Official's Blessing. And they are also very stunning. They'll have like foiled hard case, fancy end papers, sprayed edges, all that kind of stuff. and, just beautiful dust jackets. And so she got me volumes 2, 3, and 4. I think they have maybe 5, 6, and 7 out now. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know that they have all 8 completed, and then my sister got me Lore Olympus Volume 8. We both really love the series, so we went book shopping together, and that's what we both ended up going out with. And then I had several special editions come in May. I had Clockwork Boys by T. Kingfisher, and then I had the Saint of Steel series come in. So Paladin's Grace, Paladin's Strength, Paladin's Hope, Paladin's Faith, all from Broken Binding. They've been doing some really cool T. Kingfisher editions, and I'm like, sure, sounds great. And I do think these are set in the same world. So it was really cool to kind of have all of these books on hand by one author that I had never read and be able to kind of just sink into their worlds and their writing. And she actually ended up being a really standout author for me this year and a new favorite that I was like, oh, I'm having a really great time with all of these, and I needed that a lot this year. Another couple actually from Broken Binding. I have Malevolent 8. I had gotten Malevolent 7 as a special edition, and this is its sequel. And then for the subscription, we have Magician, which is a huge heckin' chonker of a book, and also one of my favorites of the year. This is from the 80s, and I obviously I've heard of Raymond D. Feist, but I don't think I'd ever read anything by him, and I had a really great time. I'm really looking forward to reading more from him in 2026. From Fairy Loot, I have The Night and the Moth, and then The Glittering Edge, which are the adult and YA books, respectively. And then A Song of Legends Lost from Illumicrate. I had way fewer books in June, so I skipped all of the June books except Broken Binding. So I had The Floating World. This was actually, I think Glittering Edge was maybe the Fairy Loot April book, and then this was the May Fairy Loot book. But then we went to Kinokuniya, and I picked up Cat Gamer Volume 2, Sakamoto Days 17, and then Marriage Toxin Volumes 6 and 7. In July, I had 19 books come into my house, but 10 of those were special edition pre-orders. So we'll just start with those. I had my Bridge Kingdom pre-order come in. Next, I have Silverthorn. This is the second. Yeah. Hi. Are you coming to sit in my lap? Oh, Cecil, what are we doing? Here. You come sit in my lap and talk books? Tell the people about books? Since I'm sitting on your... Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a good man. So the next special edition that I picked up was actually the box set from Heaven Official's Blessing of the manhwa. And don't go. Oh my goodness. And it came in this box, and there's 6 volumes. If I can get this open. Oh, don't go, Cecil. And yeah, they are very pretty. But if you... What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. All right, well, I've been abandoned. Off to sniff other things, I think. And then the 2 subscription books that came in July were Silverthorn. This is the second book in the Rift War saga from Broken Binding, sequel to Magician. And then The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. When I first heard about this, I did not realize the inspiration for this story. We are going to give it a shot and see how it goes. It sounds really cute. I'm hoping the inspiration is unrecognizable. So, which I have heard that it is from other people. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Then we did go on an out and about trip. Picked up volumes 10 and 11 of Apothecary Diaries, volume 9 of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, the comic, The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the sequel to The Spell Shop. Steel of Celestial Shadows, volume 1. Song of the Lioness, graphic novel, volume 1, book 1. And then the Atlas of Middle Earth, because, like I said, that's one of our favorite series of all time. Also, I forgot to say that the Heaven Official's Blessing manhwa came with a bunch of, like, pre-order things. So, like character art, and then this little, like, acrylic standee guy, and, like, you know, he's, like, kind of holographic, and you can see it better on here. So they're just cute little babies. I had several books from subscription boxes come in. A couple are from July. I can't tell you which. Oh well, I think A Darkness at Sethanon was maybe July. This is the 3rd book in the Rift War saga, so that trilogy. And then Voidwalker from Illumicrate. And then we had Nightblood Prince. I do think this is one from July. Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, also from Fairy Loot. And then Immortal Consequences, also from Fairy Loot. A couple sequels that came in were The God and the Grecian. This is the sequel to The God and the Gumio. And A Forgery of Fate. This is part of Elizabeth Lim's broader world. And then a couple special editions that came in were House of Many Ways and Castle in the Air. These are part of the Howl's Moving Castle world. And then another special edition from Arcane is The World of Master of Crows. This is an omnibus of several short stories set in some of Grace Draven's worlds. And it connects several of her stories together in a way that I really enjoyed. She can do no wrong, essentially. The final book that came in from family was Eagles at War. This is from my dad. I think I'd actually given it to him a while ago, and he finally read it and gave it to me. And then we went to the used bookstore, and this is where I technically got 17 books, but I only have 16 written down because one of them has met an unfortunate end. So I picked up a bunch of Lisa Kleypas books. Again, The Magic, Secrets of a Summer Night, It Happened One Autumn, and A Devil in Winter. There is a creator on TikTok. I think her name is Emily. I will put her name up here and in the comments. And she was going through a Lisa Kleypas reread, and I was like, all right, I'm sold. Because I'd read a couple books from her before and had a good time, and just hadn't, like, done the full, like, read-through of all of her series. So I was like, you know what? Come on, baby. Come on. Yeah. There we are. Hi, sweet boy. I also picked up Sherry Thomas, My Beautiful Enemy. And then I was very excited Oh, I feel this big purr. I was very excited to find one of the discrete covers of Victoria Aveline's Clocanian series. This is Freeing Luca. But, and I did reread it. I was very excited to have it on my shelf. And then I left it in a pile on the floor. And someone that might be sitting in my lap has vommed on it. And, like, it's just on the edges and on the cover, but it's, like, very dried on there and, like, very absorbed in the edges. And I just don't know what to do with it because, like, it's not something that I feel like I can clean up. I just don't know. I don't know what to do with it. And it's just been sitting in shame over elsewhere. And I'm like, I surely cannot take this back to the used bookstore. That would be terrible. Nobody wants a cat vom book. But I'm also like, it's not like that. I don't know. At this point, it's pretty crusty. So I think I will probably just end up recycling it, which is so unfortunate. Or I wish I was the kind of person who would rip out the pages and put them in like a journal or something. Also, I need people to see this sweet boy. Yeah. Look at this man. Oh my goodness. Sweet baby. Hi. Oh my gosh. Luckily, my last stack is right in front of me, so I might be able to work through this snuggle time. But some serious ASMR. One of my birthday gifts from Damien was tickets to the the concert for Avatar: The Last Airbender, so like the live show, and we picked up an art book while we were there, and this is one of the other event related books that we got. And then some of our out and about books were Sakamoto Days Volume 18, Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, the comic, Volume 10. And then I pre-ordered another edition of Howl's Moving Castle because I think Harper maybe? Yeah, HarperCollins Children did a special edition, and it's very pretty. It's got sprayed edges, and there's some end papers. You checking it out? And it's a very shiny dust jacket. Let's see. Okay, don't go. Oh. You going up on the couch. Okay. I've been abandoned yet again. But this is the naked. And then we have the front end papers and then the back end papers. And I just thought it was really cute. And then very, very different. We have By the Horns by Ruby Dixon. This is the second book in her Royal Artifactual Guild series. The first one is Bull Moon Rising. I have not read that one, and I don't necessarily think that you have to read them in order because you get plenty of context in this one. And a little bit of recaps along the way for what happened last time. For subscription books, I have The Second Death of Locke. I think this was an Illumicrate pick. And then Never Ever After by Sue Lynn Tan. This is a Fairy Loop, I think YA pick. And a sequel that I got is Human Rights. And then the big special edition that I got in September was the Broken Binding special edition of Darkness and Light. You know, it has like the gilded page edges and the slipcase and all this kind of stuff. And then like the foil on the cover, the map end papers, and then there are illustrations on the inside. There's map end papers on both sides. So, oh, I need to tell you, I gotta find my list first. I need to tell you how many of these I have read. So I had a total of 132 books here, and I do have several that have been collected. So for me, those are volumes that I either wanted a specific edition of or a paper edition of something that I had already read. So like the Alana series would be collected. All of the Lord of the Rings books would be collected. And so I don't count those towards my like TBR like read tally for the year because I've already read them. So I have collected 17 books, and I DNF'd one book, so To Green Angel Tower Part 2, and or like I DNF'd that series so like it wouldn't go on my TBR. So if we subtract those numbers from the 132, we get 114. And I've read 40 of those 114 books, which puts me at 35% books read. You know, I'm sitting here thinking that I feel like I've read more than that, but I do feel like that is probably also accurate because looking at these books, I'm like, nope. I just recounted and came up with 48 that I had read, which is 42%, like just barely over 42%. So that's a much better number than 35. So I'm going to go with that. I think I left out the Heaven Official's Blessing manhwa, and I think I forgot to include my Cat Vom book, which I did read before it got vommed on. And yeah, I don't know where I missed 8 books, but that's okay. We recounted. Those are all the books that have come into my house in the first 9 months of the year. I will do an ins and outs video for October to December. I will probably also, since this is already pretty long, I will probably do the outs for the entire year in that same video. And that'll give me a little more time to make sure I have everything together, and, you know, if I need to pull any covers or anything like that, I can do that. But I will leave you with this napping little noodle. Just this sweet baby boy. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, stretchy Pete's. Look at this baby. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let me know if you guys have read any of these, if you had any thoughts on any of these, or I feel like people are going to have more opinions on what is going to leave my house or what has already left my house, which is fine. I don't know if I could pick out one single favorite edition. You know, I think it would have to be Alana to be my favorite edition of any of the books that have come in. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, every single one of these special edition books is stunning, but just the sheer amount of artwork and the style of artwork and the colors and just how well done this series is, yeah, it's got to be this one. So yeah, I'm going to end this here. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck editing this for 800 years. And I will see y'all next time. And I will hopefully be able to get myself back on track for being able to do this quarterly throughout the year instead of one giant video at the end of the year. Because now I have to put all of these away. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. Hope you had wonderful books come in this year as well and got rid of any of the ones that did not bring you joy. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.